Good evening, Jimmy here. Welcome to my overly crowded reloading bench. I'm going to be creating a few videos to follow through my working up of a new hunting load. I'm going to be working up the Berger VLD hunting bullet in 30-06 Springfield, and this is for my Sako 75. Now, I have a load that I really like in my Sako 75 today. I've been shooting it for a number of years. It's a Hornady 165 grain interbond. It shoots extraordinarily well, but I'm doing hunting here in the Midwest, so most of my shots actually are, probably 200 yards or under. Most of them are actually underneath 100 yards. It is incredibly accurate, and I have no doubt that I can probably do some very successful long-range shooting with this bullet, but based on a lot of the good things I've heard about Berger and the fact that I'm going to be doing some out west hunting, hopefully in the next couple of years here, I'd like to work on loading up some of these Berger bullets and just to see how they can perform. It's always fun. As reloaders, we are curious people and we like to tinker with these things. Again, these are going to be loaded for hunting purposes. I'm not a bench rest shooter, but just to show you kind of my benchmark where I'm at today, and I can get these results fairly consistently with my current load. This is 57 grains of IMR 4350. Again, this is that 165 grain interbond bullet, and this is at 100 yards, 4-shot group. This is one I shot a couple summers ago. It looks like we're going to be at 0.734. So if we take 308 off of that, the bullet diameter, we're well under half MOA at 100 yards. So pretty impressive group with the load I have today, but I think I can probably achieve that with these Berger bullets, hopefully maybe a touch better. We'll see. But anyway, you can follow along with this process. I thought it would be an interesting video because there's not a lot on loading these VLD bullets. I know there's not a lot of video content on YouTube, I should say, for these VLD bullets. There's some good information from Berger, kind of starter, but I haven't found a lot of user videos out there kind of following the full process. So I'll be taking you through that. Again, I have not loaded the VLD bullet yet, so this will be my first time in taking you through kind of how I do things. So I thought I'd start out with a little bit of the equipment because there are some specialized components that you need to think about and consider before reloading the VLD bullet. The first and probably most important topic is your reloading dies. This is a Redding competition die, and the reason I wanted to talk about this is the VLD bullet, I guess more specifically Berger, really talks a lot about how you seat the bullets and the fact that the point of the VLD is inconsistent. And actually, pretty much every bullet, they make the point that is inconsistent. You have a hollow point, with Hornadys, you have that plastic polymer tip. I know those to be inconsistent, and they just make the point that that's inconsistent. So when you're seating off of the tip of that bullet, you're actually getting inconsistent seating depths. Now, is it enough to throw things off at the ranges I'm shooting for whitetails? Definitely not. But for bench rest shooters and for those looking for longer range accuracy, it certainly can be. So for the VLD bullet, they recommend, and I took this seating stem, by the way, out of the die to kind of just demonstrate this. I don't know how well you can see this in the camera, but you want to be seating on the ogive of the bullet, and the Redding dies allow for that. In fact, Redding actually makes a set of seating stem replacements for their dies. They're specifically made for the VLD bullet. Now, this is actually a standard stem that I have here for the competition die, and I called Redding today to ask whether or not I needed to get the specific stem for the competition die, and I spoke with Rick, a technician there, and he let me know that really the only thing that they found that the non-VLD stem that I have here was doing in the competition dies was occasionally it was leaving a little ring around the bullet. And both Redding and Berger have stated that they've not really seen any accuracy issues because of that. Or I guess they should state rather, they're stating that you may not see accuracy. Now, a lot of people are going to be bugged by a little ring, so it might be worth it for you to order the specific VLD die that's probably chamfered a little bit on the inside that isn't going to leave a score around the bullet. We'll see how mine works here before I go and order that. I actually mistakenly ordered the seating micrometer. This is for the cheaper Type 1, Type 2 Redding dies, which I think would work just fine. I ended up buying this competition die because that's what my local reloading store had in supply, and you know, it's the quality on this Redding die is just absolutely phenomenal. I mean, you can just see in the machining that it's made very well. Probably a bit overkill for a hunting situation, but it's nice to have good quality stuff. Which brings me on to the next set of dies that I'll be using, and I might take a little flack for this. Aha, the Lee die set underneath here. This die set is what I have been using for all of my 30-06 reloading. It's neck sizing die set, their deluxe die set. I've had a lot of good luck with Lee dies. I really like them. Early on in reloading, I read a lot from Richard Lee. I really liked his approach, and I've learned a lot from his literature. So I've kind of gone with the die sets here. Now I might there's an option with Lee dies that you can send them about $60, 2 fire-formed cases, and they will custom grind a die, a neck sizing die and a seating die for your chamber based on those cases that you send them. And if I feel like that this neck sizing die just isn't cutting it, maybe I'll try that. Then again, I could probably just step up and buy the competition neck sizing die. But again, I'll only be neck sizing. In my rifle chamber accuracy, I can only achieve sub MOA accuracy when I'm neck sizing. If I'm not neck sizing, factory ammo, any custom loads I've tried with full length sizing or not neck sizing, I can't get to sub MOA. So really, probably an indication of a looser chamber in my rifle. But anyway, that's the die set that I'm going to be using. You see this other little component I have here. This is the Hornady Lock and Load Bullet Comparator set. And this is necessary, again, back to what we were talking about with the Redding die and bullet seating. We're also going to need to measure on the ogive. If we're seating on the ogive, we need to measure on the ogive. And it doesn't necessarily need to measure in the exact same place on the ogive, but to get consistent results, we don't want to be measuring the overall length or the seating depth on that tip of the bullet. Again, we'll have inconsistent results. We want to make sure that the overall length is clearing the magazine, so we'll check that and make sure we have plenty of clearance there from loaded cartridge to loaded cartridge. But for consistency, we're going to use this bullet comparator to check this. Now, Sinclair International has a little hex nut that achieves basically the same thing. Again, this is what my reloading store had. I could order that nut online. I thought the reviews were a bit better on the bullet comparator, although I have to say, you see this gap in the channel of this bullet comparator and my Starrett die here, which is a quality, or Starrett caliper, which is a quality caliper. I don't know if I necessarily like that because you get a little rocking here, but I guess if you kind of work that into the corner and lock that down, it shouldn't be going anywhere, and it's should be fairly consistent. So, but that Sinclair nut for ogive comparator is another option to the Hornady Lock and Load. I think this is 25 or 30 bucks online. So I'll be using this. I don't have a loaded cartridge, but again, just to demonstrate this, you can see that we are measuring bullet seating depth on the ogive versus on the tip of the bullet. And that's going to be key in getting repeatability in loading these VLD bullets. Really the last bit of information to kind of go through is making sure you have the Berger bullet manual. You know, there's some key concepts in here. There's a really nice story of, you know, Walt Berger and the history of Berger bullets, but more importantly, there's really some key concepts in reloading the Berger bullet that I think many people maybe would miss or not understand. The biggest one is when they talk about the jump, when you're seating the Berger bullets, and the jump from the cartridge to the lands of your rifle in your chamber. And they really talk about how that's kind of almost like a individual DNA of each rifle, and the results are going to vary in terms of what distance to seat and what distance that jump is to work best for your rifle. So they recommend that you work up a progression of 6 different jump lengths. I think it's a few thousandths for each jump. And they said one of those is going to produce, you know, it's really going to tighten up your groups and produce the best results. So that's an extra variable. Normally I would seat my bullet, you know, safely for overall length in the magazine, and then as close to 10 thousandths off the lands as I can. And with Berger, it sounds like I have a little bit more variable to play with there. So in addition to varying my powder and all the other variables that you might have in working up a load, I'm also going to be playing with the seating depth a bit more to tweak that jump to the lands to see what works best in my rifle. Hopefully I'm not limited by the overall length in my magazine. That's why I have the 185 grain bullets. I think the ogive is a little bit further out on those than it would be like a 165 or 175 grain bullet like I'm shooting today. I couldn't find any specific information on measuring how far out that ogive is, but as you look at the bullet design, the heavier in grains, heavier in weight you go, the further that ogive goes out. It just seems to make sense that they have to push that out to gain the weight. So hopefully I'm hoping that gains me a little bit of play to decrease that jump to the lands and give me a little bit more variability in that seating depth. So I'll be using 4350 powders from IMR and Hodgdon. I do have some other powders, but the 30-06, it's a really popular powder. Mine today shoots the Hodgdons really well, but I know the IMR is also a popular option, so I'll be playing with both of those, and we'll see how the results are. So stay with me. I'm going to work up tonight some loads with just some cheaper Sierra varmint bullets I had laying around. I'll do 30 or 40 of these tonight with just whatever powder I have for this specific bullet. I just want to fire form some brass. So I'll load these up, take them to the range on Saturday, shoot them, and then come back here and film part 2 of this video series to load up the VLD bullets. So stay tuned for that.